What's up YouTube? Honeybee here, bringing you a new Mortal Kombat 1 video. There was a small patch that just came out recently. A couple things have changed in the game. If you've been looking at other YouTube channels that have been covering some of these things, you might have noticed that Cyrax got a little bit of a nerf. The spinning horizontal move now takes up a full cameo bar instead of half. It does affect some of the damage that some of these characters can do. Baraka went from doing like 50% combos to like 40% combos. Kind of same deal with Raiden. They kind of got damage nerfs to some of their combos, kind of as expected, right? There's also some other changes that happened. Quickly, I'll just tell the move list. You can now pin moves by pressing like 2 or whatever, and then now you'll see that the moves are on the screen. So little quality of life change there. That's nice. You can also display ping in matches now, as you could in previous NRS games. So that's a nice little quality of life change, so you can see how badly laggy your opponents are and you can really call them out for it, right? But there hasn't been a whole lot of changes. One of the characters though that did get some changes, nothing too major, but Reptile did get some changes, and I know that's why you guys are here. So let's talk about some of these Reptile changes and how they affect him. The first change we're going to talk about, also new stage, Halloween stage. That's pretty cool. So the first change we're going to talk about is his invisibility. So they have his normal invisibility. They actually nerfed his normal invisibility. It now takes longer for it to activate. While he's invisible, it still seems to be the same duration. It's just that to become invisible, it takes longer to become invisible. So this kind of hurts some of the setups that I was going for with Scorpion. I'll show you what I mean. Normally that setup, by the time I would run under, he would be invisible at that point. So then you're actually guessing for the mix-up. Now with this, he becomes invisible a little bit later, making the setup not really that useful anymore. Now the thing is, you can still go for other setups. It doesn't mean that this move is suddenly useless. It just means that we're gonna have to find new ways of using it. But overall, it might be a little bit of a nerf depending on how you used it and depending on how you went into some of these setups. Now, they did give his enhanced invisibility a purpose. Now, his enhanced invisibility makes him become invisible much sooner, while letting him be invisible for a little bit longer than if you don't enhance. So if you don't enhance it, he's invisible for about 4 to 5 seconds. When you enhance it, he's invisible between 6 to 7 seconds. About that is what I've tried to time it and test it. So one of the nice applications of this is that you can go into your invisibility setups a lot easier, a lot quicker to actually be invisible. So let's say I do a combo like this. I can go invisible, do an uppercut, and by this time, I'm already invisible. I can go for like a couple things that I couldn't before. For example, if I do this, I can be invisible. I can go for a throw. I'm still invisible. I can go for a low. Before, it wouldn't be as good to actually do some of those type of things because you wouldn't have as much time afterwards. Like if I'm gonna be invisible and do a throw, a lot of times you wouldn't have that much time afterwards to still be invisible. I can do even 3 throws kind of and be invisible if you time it right. So there could be some application to that. It could be somewhat useful. I don't think you're gonna want to be spending the invisibility though mid-screen where people can easily just run away from you, because now you do have to actually spend a bar in order to do that. It makes it not as useful. If I'm gonna spend a bar and my opponent just gonna run away from me the whole time, why am I spending a bar? At least if I have them in the corner, they kind of have to hold that. Unfortunately, when he is invisible and when you enhance it, nothing else has changed besides the duration. If I'm blocking, so I'm gonna control player 2. There we go. right? So we're gonna have Reptile blocking, right? If he's blocking, the invisibility, it still goes away immediately. Unlike Smoke, who he can block and he'll stay invisible, Reptiles goes away immediately. So it's gonna take some time to see how useful it is, and do you really want to be spending that bar to be invisible to get that a little bit quicker? I don't know. It's gonna take a little bit of time to check with some different cameo options and stuff like that. Another change that happened for Reptile, they changed his 1-2. Now the hit of it is not doing the same animation as it used to. This kind of affects the combo that I would go for previously, where I would do something like this into this, because now that second part of the Scorpion Flame didn't hit him. And it can still work, but it's a lot trickier to time it with the way that the hit is. So you're getting a little bit less damage now, and I also think the damage, either the damage of this move itself was reduced, or it somehow scales damage more, because I was testing it and one of my combos did a little bit less damage. But overall, he actually got a little bit of a damage buff. I think his force balls seem to be scaling a little bit less, and potentially his 2-3-3 in the air seems to be doing a little bit more damage. So before, I could do a combo like this combo before that I'm about to do used to do about 35%. This combo, this is meterless. This used to do about 35%. Now we're doing it 374. So we're getting about an extra like 2% damage on a combo like that. Before, like my meterless one cameo combo would be something like this into this. So that's how I got it, right? So we got 395. It used to do about the same. So actually that hasn't really changed there, but I can actually now do a combo like this that used to do 38%. This combo used to do 38%, 380. Now we're getting 409. So that's about a 2 to 3 damage increase that you can get for some of his hits. So he did get a little bit of a buff in that regard. I was playing some matches, by the way. I was playing quite a few matches last night. I was streaming, and I don't know if you guys are aware, but there's this issue where Reptile, he'll hit the back 3 and the 1 portion won't connect. And sometimes it makes sense because you're hitting a very extended hitbox. So then the next part, you'll hit this extended hitbox with your back 3, and then the 1 portion just won't be there, and then you'll whiff it and you might die for it. But sometimes you would do the back 3-1 and then you're still hitting them and you're not hitting that really much of an extended hitbox, but then the second portion would still whiff. I was playing yesterday for a couple hours. I didn't experience that issue, but I did experience the hitting an extended hurt box and the next part whiffing. So it seems to be potentially fixed. They do still have this issue where with his forward his 4-2-3, the second part can still whiff on hit if you hit them far enough. There you go. So sometimes you can still whiff that. There's still a little bit of issues with that. They didn't do anything in terms of like plugging any of the gaps in his offense. He has a couple of them. I'm not gonna have to go over them. If you know them, you know them. If you don't, I hope you don't find out, because I need to win. They didn't really fix those things. The main changes, really, they didn't address his spit at all either, the acid spit. This move, it's still pretty much useless unless you're using like a Mataro cameo. You can get a combo extensions, but outside of that, it still seems to be what it was. They didn't really change anything else about that. The only real changes for Reptile is really just normal invisibility now takes longer to activate, so a little bit of a nerf. Enhanced invisibility now serves a purpose. It enhances quicker and you can be invisible a little bit longer. Ideally, not the change I would have have liked for him to either get like a damage increase while invisible. I would have liked him to be able to block and still be invisible. I would have liked for him to maybe even do something crazy like get a hit of armor or something. It would have been nice, but you know, it's okay. At least there's a reason, I guess. At least there's a reason now. I would have liked for him to get a little bit more sauce, a little bit more mix-ups when it comes to like 4-2-1. The second hit, it's a mid, right? 4-3-1 high mid. That mid, that looks like an overhead. I would have liked them to make it an overhead, but you know, beggars can't be choosers out here. We'll just have to take what we can get. So overall, what we're looking at for Reptile: invisibility, normal, now got a little bit of a nerf, takes a little bit longer to activate. Enhanced invisibility has a purpose. He got a different like hit animation off of his jumping 1-2, which negatively affects some of his combos, but could potentially open up new combo routes with a little bit more exploration. His jump 2-3-3 seems to be doing a little bit more damage, and his force balls seem to be scaling a little bit less. So overall, I would say it's a pretty positive change overall. It just means that the setups that I would normally go for invisibility with Scorpion, probably not going to be doing them as much anymore, but it just means I'm going to have to try to just play a little bit differently, maybe cash out on damage a little bit more. We're going to be getting about 2% more for our combos with Reptile, and then just try to push them to the corner, maybe enhance invisibility, maybe use that in some capacity. But that's really the changes that happened for Reptile. Nothing too crazy, but with some of the Cyrax nerfs that will affect some of those characters like Baraka Raiden, it could, in that regard, help Reptile, because those will be a little bit easier to deal with. But Johnny, to my knowledge, completely untouched, still just as good as he always was. Johnny is arguably, like, he's potentially the best in the game with Kenshi or something like that. We don't know yet, but yeah, those are essentially the changes. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We are on the road to 100,000 subscribers on this channel, and we're getting really close, so I'd appreciate if you guys subscribe. Thanks for joining, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.